If you want to buy yourself a pair of blue blockers, you will undoubtedly have come across the fact that there are different color lens tints, even when you're looking for something specifically like optimizing your sleep. So what I'm going to do in this video is basically discuss some of the lens tints that you would see for the night lens options of blue blockers, and how you can basically figure out which lens tint is the correct one based on your current situation. What's up guys, it's Nick here from Mitochondria and welcome to our channel. On this channel you will find a ton of content all around light and circadian rhythms and how you can optimize these things in order to live your best life. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our future content, then make sure that you hit both the subscribe and the notification bell. That way you get a notification every time we release a new video. For today's video, I'm going to be discussing two different lens options that you might see on the market when trying to choose a blue blocker tint for improving your sleep quality. So the first one is a 100% blue and green light blockout. And the other one doesn't block out 100% of blue and green light. This is actually the Lucid Tint that you get at Mitochondria. And this blocks out 97% of blue light and 70% of green light. So what I want to basically discuss is, in what context would you use either of these two and which one might be more applicable for you? Now, obviously, as is logical, the more light that you're blocking out, the lower the visual clarity. So just to give you an example, I'll show you, first of all, I'm going to show you, and I've got a ring light on here, so I'm using the worst of the worst light I can at the moment for this video in order to do this test. So 100% blue and green light, I want to show you what that looks like. So that is pretty dark, and that is in a pretty light, like a very bright light setting at the moment. That's 100% blue and green light. When you look at the Lucid Tint, so this is from Mitochondria, this is the one that is 97% blue light, 70% green light. Then you can see, that you've got a bit more visual clarity. You can see a bit more than the complete 100% blue and green light blockout. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that these are better. In all honesty, 100% blue and green light blockouts will actually have a greater impact on helping to protect your sleep quality because you're going to get zero blue light and zero green light from going through into your eyes. The thing is, when we look at the studies, primarily, what we've seen is that blue light has the biggest impact on suppressing your melatonin. That's obviously why you're wearing blue blockers. You don't want to have that type of light entering your eye at nighttime and offsetting your melatonin and damaging your sleep quality. But what they've seen in the research is it's not just blue light. Yes, blue light is the absolute worst for doing this, but green light also has this effect, and that is basically the premise on why people are making 100% blue and green light blockers. What they don't mention often is that it's not just green light, even red light, something we know is really good at helping you to sleep, using that as your light environment in the evening. Even red light in a bright enough context can also offset your melatonin. So what I've basically found is that you need to use blue blockers based on the situation that you're in. So for myself, I am able to control my light environment at my house, apart from using this ugly ring light at the moment. But normally, in the evenings, I'm not using any super bright light. I'm using actually the orbs from Mitochondria, so they're 100% red. There's no blue light. And the only reason I would need blue blockers is because there might be some light coming from my neighbors. Often there's light, outside that you have no control over, and that will have some blue light in it. And the other thing is if I'm using a device such as my cell phone or my laptop, those things, yes, they already have software tools on them, and I'll link to a couple of those in the description if you want to find some software tools to lower the blue light from your screens. But I just want to have that extra protection to just take a little bit more away from them while I'm using those devices. Now, if I use something like the 100% blue and green light blockout in a low light environment, if I take away this ring light, and we look at that, I've still got some natural lighting here, that is too extreme. That for me, I'm going to have to take that off in order to see some things. And that is the biggest problem that we had a lot of our customers complaining about, is when the lens tint is a 100% blue and green light blockout, if you're doing something about your light environment, which you should be, then this is overkill. And what ends up happening is you only wear these 90% of the time. So, 100% blue and green light blockout, but you're only wearing them 90% of the time because you can't see something on your phone. You can't see when you're walking, in your passageway. So you end up lifting them up. And this is such a common thing that I've seen with people using 100% blue and green light blockouts. So for me, my own situation where I'm currently doing something about my light environment, These are much better because I wear them 100% of the time. Now, there is a time and a place for something that is 100% blue and green light blockout, but in order to have visual clarity with these, you need to be in a pretty bright light environment. So let's say, for instance, you've gone out to dinner, or you've gone to the shops or something like that in the evening, and there's really, really bright light that you can do nothing about. Then 100% blue and green light blockout lenses do make sense. However, you're still not fixing the problem completely, because even if you're blocking out all of that light, we've known in the last 5 years or so that there's also melanopsin receptors in your skin. So what that basically means is, even if you're blocking out all the blue and green light from entering your eyes, the blue and the green light that's outside there can still have damaging effect on your circadian rhythm when it comes in contact with your skin. Now, anyone who's done any kind of scientific studies and looked at protocols will have probably heard the term a confounding variable. And this is a big confounding variable in a lot of the studies where they've tried to test melatonin suppression using bright lights and blue blocker glasses. Because if you think about it, if they weren't covering their skin, or maybe they were, you have no comparison between these studies, because now we have a confounding variable. It's something we didn't consider. We never considered that no matter what you do covering people's eyes, if you're shining a bright light on them and it's impacting their melatonin because it's offsetting their circadian rhythm via their skin, then that's a factor you never considered. So I'm not here to dispel the studies. I think that's not the purpose of this video. But what I am saying is, if you are in a super bright light environment, these do make sense. But that means that you're not doing something about your light environment, and you're almost somewhat of a beginner in terms of controlling your light environment. If this is in your house. Obviously, if you're going into an environment where you can't control it, then these probably aren't sufficient. You're going to have extremely good visual clarity, but you're actually going to be better off not using the mitochondrial lenses and using these. However, for me, that is a much smaller percentage of my life. What I am doing most of the time is I'm controlling my light environment in my house, and therefore these don't make any sense for me because they're actually overkill, and I end up having to lift them up in order to see things around me. So something like the Lucid Tint from Mitochondria is the one that I would be using then. Now, I'm not saying that you should never buy a pair of these and that these are completely useless. Time and a place, and to be brutally honest, Mitochondria probably will at some point come out with a 100% blue and green light blocking tint. But for me, and I know a lot of our customers, what we've found, as soon as you start doing something about your light environment, then it's more logical to use a lower tint where you're still going to have some visual clarity. Because at the end of the day, if you wanted 100% blue, green, yellow, pink blockouts, you could just wear a sleep mask, but then you've got no visual clarity. So what you need to basically do is figure out, what kind of light environment you're in. Are you doing nothing about your light environment at home? Let's say you have a family and they all want super bright lights. You can't put any, softwares on the phones, and you're the only one. You're the crazy nutter in the house that focuses on their light environment. In that case, don't pay. Currently, what we have at Mitochondria, don't buy a pair of blue blockers from us, because those aren't going to be what you need. If you're in that every single night and you have no control over your light environment, go and seek out a company that does 100% blue and green light blockers. But bear in mind, you're going to have less visual clarity. With our ones, for myself, I have a lot of control over my light environment. I haven't even turned this ring light back on me yet. And I will rather use a lighter tint, the Lucid Tint, which we've created here at Mitochondria, and we created it specifically for people who are able to already do something about their light environment and don't want to have to be flicking the lenses up and down as they're going through the evening, because I can tell you now, these tints, when you're in a low light environment, you can't see enough. You're probably going to injure yourself and walk into a cupboard or something like that. So I'm not just saying one is better than the other. This video is not to do that. I really do think that 100% blue and green lenses do have their place. I just think for my context, and if you understand your context, you can figure out which one you're going to need more in your situation. If you do want to find some of the Mitochondria blue blockers, then I'll leave a link in the description below. These are the night lenses that are known as the Lucid Tint. As I've already mentioned, so it's 96% of blue light, and then it is 70% of green light. Whereas the other ones, 100% of blue, 100% of green light, but you won't be able to have the same visual clarity as you would with the other. Again, pros and cons on both sides. You need to figure out what works best for you in your current situation and make a decision based on that. If you guys have any questions from today's video, or if you want to start a discussion, this is a very cool topic, and there's people on both sides of the fence, and I'm sure it might even offend some people to say that certain lens tints might not be useful. Start a discussion in the comment section below. I'll stick around, after this video and even check in after this to see what the comments are. And yeah, we can start a discussion on that and take it from there. Other than that, guys, I hope that you have a fantastic day further. And before I say goodbye, smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Other than that, take care, and we will chat again soon. Cheers.